Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield on this Wednesday, November 27th. Just one show this week as we are all going to take a break, as are you. Hopefully everybody gets the next couple days off for the long weekend for Thanksgiving. Might be my favorite holiday of the year. It's a close battle between this and Christmas for me, Josh. We always, we often do like a little thanks show. We'll get that in. We'll get that in our mailbag show today. But what's your favorite Thanksgiving tradition? That's my first mailbag question.
Yeah, so my family, we're not big shoppers, like Black Friday shoppers, in part because of like lack of access to stores in person in Pocatello. Also,
you don't have a Gucci store there?
No, we didn't. No Gucci. They did make room for a Louis Vuitton. That's not true. We do not have a Louis Vuitton store. So there's not a lot of shopping, and like we could travel, but that's just not really our thing. And so on Black Friday, while everyone else is shopping, we go up in the mountains and we bring sleds and we roast hot dogs and we cut down our own Christmas trees and then bring those back. And so that's what we do every Black Friday after Thanksgiving. So that's probably
fantastic.
Yeah, that's probably it's associated with Thanksgiving to me, but that's probably my favorite tradition.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got a fun one today. We got a little bit of news to get to, and then we're talking mailbag. And we'll be joined as well by Dion Arlyn of the PDGA to talk about what's the PDGA's roadmap for product. That's what Dion's job is, director of product. Interesting. So we will get to that as well. Josh, let's start first. Q Series finale for the Pro Tour took place over the weekend, and a few people not only earned some cash, but getting the opportunity to get a tour card for 2025. Who made it through the gauntlet?
MPO top 3 players, FPO top 2 players, your winners. On the MPO side, Micah Groth takes down the win and is able to earn his Q Series card, a name that we saw throughout the year. So, definitely I think a highlight and a name that a lot of, at least listeners to this podcast, are going to recognize. Harry Chase, Chace.
I would guess Chase, but
I would have guessed too, but I'm not sure. Congratulations to second place, and Jason Lawson gets third place, narrowly missing out and should have access to what they call a silver card. They didn't announce. They said those who narrowly missed out, but didn't define how many that would be, what rights that gives you. It's basically a limited tour card. Luke Sampson was first out. That's another name that I think listeners to this pod are going to recognize. The one I really was interested in seeing was Ryan Mon, and he didn't even make cash. He was about 11 strokes back. So, he played well, didn't get blown out, but yeah, it was, he's a junior player still.
Micah Groth and Harry Chase, the top 2 rated players at the tournament. And they both qualify. So, yeah, it makes sense. Shout out to Jason Lawson, who's only 1,004 rated, out of Bend, Oregon, getting the opportunity to pick up a tour card if he wants it.
That's awesome. Good for him.
And it's going to be interesting. Like, will he choose to do it?
Right.
He went to a couple DGPT events this year, Portland Open, Beaver State Fling. He didn't make the cash. Des Moines Challenge didn't cash. Went out to US DGC Monday qualifying, didn't get into the tournament. So, do you want to jump on tour? Are you ready for that? Maybe this is the kind of thing that springboards you. And I think that's the coolest part of this whole Q Series deal.
Sure. But I think last year I think the tour card was, it's not.
It costs money.
It costs money. It is not cheap if you are not going to play a lot of events.
It's close to $1,000. I don't exactly know what the price is, but you're getting, that comes with registration for all the events and
correct. But that still means you need to, in order to make it worth
parking.
it, you need to play in like 5 events or something, at least, right?
I mean, I think if you're going to get it, you're probably saying I'm committing to at least a quarter of the tour.
Yeah, going to be interesting. But congratulations.
How about the FPO side?
FPO side, Leah Sinigini holds on to her tour card. And takes down
she put together a sick final round.
I was about to say final round, 975 rated, and is able just a 4 under. So she has the winning score of 9 over. her 4 under moves her back into first place.
Yeah. She led after round 1,
Mm-hmm.
put up a stinker in round 2, and then shot the hot round of the tournament in round 3. By like, and not just the hot round of the tournament, by like 5 strokes.
Right.
So,
was it the only under par round?
Maybe?
Hannah Stefanovic shot even in round
67?
2. Yes. It was the only under par round.
Yep.
Even was the next best round in round 2.
Leah has been on tour. So,
yes.
But, locks up a tour card.
It's interesting because I think sometimes we look at tour players who don't cash, right? There are names that they maybe cash once or twice a season, and otherwise you see their names on tour, but they're not typically cashing. I think this is an interesting highlight about the level that those bottom players of tour still are relative to the rest of the field.
It's a great point.
Right. And it's one that I think we think of oftentimes in golf. When you look at PGA pros, you're like, anybody who gets a PGA card is just silly good at golf.
Right.
Disc golf is becoming a little bit the same way. If you're good enough to get a tour card, and even if you're playing on tour but not well on tour, that still puts you probably in the top 5% of disc golf players out there.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Leah only cashed at 2 Pro Tour events this year, Chess.com and Waco to kick off the season, and then didn't cash again at a Pro Tour event. So, I think there's going to be hard decisions for players like this.
I think so too. Yep.
Like if you're a borderline, like, okay, you earned a tour card, but that doesn't, on the PGA Tour, you're going to make thousands of dollars from baseline sponsorships just for having a tour card.
Correct.
In the Pro Tour, no, not so much.
Yeah. Alexis Kerman is the other player who earns her tour card out of Missouri, 910 rated. And Hannah Stefanovic was the other player. She shot even in round 2, and it really looked like she was going to be able to get herself a tour card, but had a rough final round, goes 5 over with no birdies, and pulls herself out. She is the top first one out, though, so that should give her the access to a silver card. Not sure who else would receive that, but I would presume Hannah at least would qualify for that.
All right. Well, congratulations to those who finished at the top and gave themselves the opportunity to jump on tour next year. So other stuff, Pro Tour has been announcing some of the initial awards for the year. The various criteria for these, like there's some percentages for media voting and fan voting and the stats, and I'm not going to try to go through all of them. Let's just name the players. Josh, let's start with Rookie of the Year. Who took it down?
Yeah, Rookie of the Year, Jessie Nieminen and Emily Weatherman, which I think were the two pretty clear choices for most people.
Weatherman was the lockest of locks.
Yeah.
I think Nieminen was the favorite. I will note I voted for Maudie Villman, which we discussed our ballots a few weeks ago on the pod. But I have no problem with Nieminen winning. I think he was well deserving.
Yeah. So congratulations to them. What do we have next, Charlie?
We got a comeback player of the year.
Okay.
In FPO, Evelina Salonen gets it, and in MPO, Gavin Rathbun takes it.
Great. Gavin is a great pick. He absolutely deserves that. I think we both put him for our ballots as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For comeback, I put Paige Pierce, and I don't really see the case for Evelina as comeback player of the year. What is? It's not like she was not around last year.
Well, she came back from a devastating case of puttingitis, Charlie.
Well, I understand that, but that's not really coming back from something.
No, it's not.
Improving your game is not coming back.
Right.
For me, Paige Pierce was the obvious pick for this award.
I'm trying to remember who I picked.
You can look it up in your email. Search type
it's
form,
in the
you'll
email.
find it.
Yep. I was looking for it in the show notes, but you're right.
It doesn't really. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I don't think so either.
Somebody dropped the stats in the Discord because I was complaining about this. Evelina is rated 984 now, but was rated 978 in 2021, 970 in 2023, and 976 in 2022. And So we're talking about that. This is kind of like more looking at most improved, which I'll just give you those because we can talk about that too.
Okay.
Most improved, Evelina wins that as well. And Joey Buckets gets it on the MPO side. Rebecca Cox is at 962 right now and previously had been at 950. So for me, I picked Cox for most improved because I feel like we saw her level up her game in a truly meaningful way and like all around improve as a player. And like Evelina fixed a putting a little bit, enough that it meant that she went from borderline losing tournaments to borderline winning tournaments. But I didn't feel like I saw like some step change in her as a player in the way that I did with Rebecca Cox. So I once again disagree with the voters. I'm happy for Evelina. She had a great season. She was the top of my second card All-Stars ballot. And she was number 2 on my list for player of the year this year.
Right.
Behind Kristen. But I just don't think that she deserves these particular awards.
So I gave Rebecca Cox, and I understand the Paige Pierce vote, and I think that makes the most sense probably. I gave Rebecca Cox my vote for both of these awards actually.
Okay.
Because back in June of 2023, Rebecca actually hit 950 rated and then just like collapsed immediately after and finished the rest of the season dropping all the way down to 934 and then came back over 2024 and pushed back up to 962. So mine was more about like, but the thing is like Evelina has always been where she's at and just like took the next step. Rebecca used to be at the top, became almost irrelevant on tour, and then reascended back to a point of like pretty big importance near the end of the season.
I mean, remember there were moments this year where she was like, I mean, especially at Throw Pink, where she was like right there to maybe win the tournament. Now, I don't know. That's a little like you have to play well for 4 rounds to win Throw Pink, and that didn't happen. But, you know, she was looking fantastic.
Yeah.
And I just don't think we've ever seen that level of consistency from her, especially on the putting green.
Agreed.
But really, she just felt like her overall level rose. Mental game, driving, putting. Like, again, no disrespect to Evelina. It just doesn't feel like the right overall pick for those awards. Like, comeback especially just does not make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's what's out so far. We are awaiting Player of the Year, as well as the second and third card All-Stars. Again, on my ballots, I had Kristen and Gannon. Did you also go Kristen Gannon?
Also went Kristen Gannon.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. You know, remember, like, a big chunk of the points is DGPT standings finish.
Yeah.
And so advantage there to Missy Gannon, who, you know, ever so slightly beat out Kristen at the MVP Open with the win.
Right.
And so we'll see what happens with the voters and how it all shakes out. I think we'll find that out sometime after Thanksgiving. So let's get into our mailbag. Josh, I'll let you dip in and pick our first one. You can always send us an email, upshot@ultiworld.com. We read everything. And if you ask great questions, they'll get on the air. So here we go.
Torito puts this as a, and this is a lot of Discord usernames because this is where we're pulling most of our mail from today. Torito DG wants it, said it in a kind of like top 5 manner, but I'm just going to ask you, who are your kind of fall off pros / remember that guy? So players who used to be really good, who maybe had kind of breakout seasons we thought we're going to see more of, and then have kind of fallen off since then.
Fall off pros. I mean, I think you got to go with some names of people who've like won events, especially those who maybe we thought like weren't like totally random. Like, you know, Connor O'Reilly, he's been on tour.
Sure.
He won Delaware, but I don't think anybody really felt like he was going to parlay that into like long-term success.
Right.
At least, I don't know that I did. So that's a name. How about last year's DDO winner, Parker Welk?
Yeah, that I think there was a lot of hype around him coming into the season.
And like what he might do. And I mean, he didn't have like a terrible season. He had, you know, finished top 10 at MVP, cashed a decent amount, made $20,000 in prize money. But, you know, as a 1022 rated player, you're only going to be able to do so much, even though, again, as you pointed out earlier, right, better than top 5% of all players on the earth, maybe top 1% for someone at 1020 plus.
I think I'm willing to say that money is enough of a factor to keep players who could be in the top 5% off tour.
Other guys that come to mind for me, Colton Montgomery, who just kind of has been irrelevant. Obviously got that shortened Waco win during COVID. The Katrina Allen's caddy. Can't say his name. What's his name?
Austin
Adam. Thank you.
Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great
He
one.
was actually pretty good for a while.
Yeah, he was.
Also, like, can we say Drew Gibson?
I think Drew Gibson fits well.
Yikes. He really fell off.
You know, the two guys who, we kind of talked about possibly making a bounce back. And the thing is like, I don't even think these guys are completely written off yet. They really still could do well. But for some reason, these two guys are just always paired in my head right now as used to be top of the game and now are not. And that's James Conrad and Kevin Jones. They finished 43rd and 44th, respectively, in the Disc Golf Pro Tour. They are separated by 0.22 Pro Tour points. And they both... What?
Who's finishing higher in 2025?
Oh, okay. I've got to say Kev. I think the move to Innova, we saw a little bit different. Just like...
I feel like he played better down the stretch.
Yeah, kind of saw some like signs of life a little bit. Granted, they're the same level, but I feel like he carries a little bit of momentum with him that I just don't feel like James has right now. So yeah, Kevin's my pick. But those two to me are like the top. 2 years ago were like part of the defining of the sport.
Yeah,
and
like
now are
literally on the topic of conversation on a week-to-week basis.
Yep.
And we talked about Kevin this year because of the bag switch, but I mean, hardly talked about James Conrad.
I don't remember.
I mean, you got to give him some respect around the majors always,
without a doubt.
Yeah, just didn't get it done this year. And well, I'm really curious. Have we seen his rating drop noticeably, or is he just getting surpassed? You know?
Sure.
I mean, he was up in the high 1030s in the middle of 2022 and has since been in the like middle 1020s since about August of 2023. And like that used to be good enough to be finishing towards the top of tournaments in the top 10, and it's just not anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, James Conrad's also probably 35 by now, 34, 35. So he's getting older as well. And that's the other reason I think I give. How old is Kevin Jones? I think Kevin
James
Jones
Conrad
is
34 this year.
Kevin Jones 28. So that's the other reason. I mean, Kevin is still in that athletic prime. Right?
Father time is coming for James for sure.
James is on the backside of that hill.
Yeah, for sure. On the FPO side, I think it's harder to find these kinds of names. Allie Smith, like after an awesome 2023, really just did not play well in 2024. I think she's a candidate for being a bounce back player. We could see like comeback player type season in 2025.
Yeah, I'll give you a name.
Go ahead.
Maria Oliva.
Yeah, what the hell happened to her?
In contention every week. Like, hadn't won anything, but we're like, man, it's just a matter of time. And then let's see. I think she had 2 top 10 finishes all season, and most of them were outside top 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one was a quick fall off.
This is a little bit more of a stretch. Not really a full touring pro. Sai Ananda.
Yeah.
I feel like Sai played about the same that she did in the past. But her rating has gone down about 10 points.
Was Alexis Montejano injured this season?
I have a great one for you. And this honestly, it's a little sad. It's a sad story. Caroline Henderson.
Oh yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
that? Like she came on the scene and was like, "Oh, whoa, like exciting new FPO player." We had her on the pod, and then like injury stuff has kept her from being even able to play at all.
Yeah.
She did not play a tournament in 2024. So
that's too bad.
Yeah,
she was exciting
too.
too.
That sucks.
Father Time caught up with JK after having season where she like was making lead cards and like
Father Time. I mean, like, yes, but like, I think it's more about the competitive nature of the FPO division getting so much stronger.
Sure, but think about last season.
I mean,
though.
It's not like Juliana is in her 50s.
Exactly. That's my point. Last season, okay. Oh, hold on. Juliana Korver finished 19th on the Pro Tour last season, including a third place finish at Portland, an Elite
She
Plus
played
event.
way more Pro Tour events last year.
I hear you. She also played all the ones she played better last year than she did this year.
You're right. I just feel like it's like saying Juliana Korver, the Hall of Famer, like fell off because she didn't commit to the full tour and everything this year. is a wild take.
That is not the point I was making. The point I was making,
Josh is here burying JK on the pod. Remember when JK was good 25 years ago?
No, you remember when JK was good last year and podiumed at an Elite Plus event?
No, I hear you.
I thought when she came into this season, I was like, oh, cool, she's gonna do it again.
No, she was like semi-retired this year. Like,
yeah, she was. She was
picking, commentating over that.
This is a nod to Juliana for how well she played last season.
Fair.
Goodness sakes.
I'm going to give a total pass to Macy Vela-Diaz and Katrina Allen, who were both pregnant this season.
Yep.
I think the top players in FPO have mostly stayed towards the top and, frankly, have been getting better. So that's pretty cool to see. All right, let's get to the next question.
Okay. All right.
Let me grab something. With more young talent joining the tour every year, this one comes from Eli. Do you think that we will start to see certain regions of the country become known for producing tour-level players? And if so, what region? If not, what infrastructure needs to be put in place to help turn those crazy talented teenagers into players that can compete on the Pro Tour?
I'm going to kind of mix these questions and give a cheating answer. Yes, it's going to be known for certain regions. I think it's going to be two things are going to happen. Number one, similar to like, it's going to be like, oh yeah, this is known for young players, which right now they're just known for like having good players. You have California, you've got Florida, you've got a lot of them live in Arizona now, Texas, right? Warm states where players can play all year round or can compete all year round in ideal conditions. That's where you're going to see a bulk of your good players come from. It's the same thing like hockey. Your top players from hockey are coming out of Michigan. They're coming out of Minnesota. They're coming out of Massachusetts, right? They're north where they can compete with, Canadians where it's cold. And hockey is just like a bigger part of it. I think that's where you're going to see disc golf young people come out of as well. The other part though is that I really think that if any region were to put together a strong high school or middle school program, and that's were to get added to like a state association and have a state tournament, kind of like what we've talked about in the past, that region would instantly, or that state at least, would instantly rise to the top of where young people are going to come out of, just because the level of development for those kind of opportunities versus a broad opportunities for players in other states is going to be so like distinct. So that's both my answer to the infrastructure and my answers to like regions that I think, at least at first, before other states do it, you could see a strong youth presence who join the tour.
I still think this is going to be like randomly distributed.
Okay.
Like you can't just make a Gannon Burr by giving people lots of playing opportunities. Like Gannon Burr has the combination of drive and insane talent.
You're right.
That he's wherever Gannonberg grows up, he's gonna become a touring star. Did you see, by the way, he's talking about trying to hit 800 feet of distance?
He threw 795 or something, 794.
Yeah. Are we in for like thanks for coming everyone else for the next 5 years, 10 years? Like this could be
healthy.
Macbethian.
Yeah.
I think it's genuinely possible that he just blows everybody away. Like obviously other people are still going to win tournaments and he's going to have off weeks and whatnot, but like are people ready for the Gannon Burr onslaught? Like if he can be top level distance, not just like in the top 10%, but like literally the longest thrower.
Yes.
On top of the shot shaping ability, the mental game, the putting. Like how do you stop that?
I completely agree. And
he's
that's
trying to become an 800-foot throw. 800 feet, Josh.
Did you watch the video?
I did.
It's not much of a golf shot. Like,
no, I know.
Right.
But are you going to complain about it not being much of a golf shot when
No.
It's not like he threw some like crazy, like it's not that crazy a shot.
No, it was not that crazy a shot.
Man.
We've seen him go over holes rather than go through them. Like he already does that.
Yeah.
And he's going to continue to do that.
I mean, listen, I think there's still a lot of potential to help develop more player talent at this age range by getting disc golf more into schools, particularly high schools, creating playing opportunities for kids and teenagers that are not just junior worlds and stuff like that. And so like there's definitely like the player development pipeline right now is kind of like non-existent for this age range. It's more just like people get into it with their family, and then if they get really into it, they maybe start playing in some of the PDGA majors for the juniors. And that's not terrible. But I think there is an opportunity for like more coaching to be happening, for people to be learning how to throw properly from a younger age, and not having to kind of like learn it off YouTube. And so, what regions, if I had to guess, I would say Texas, and then like around where major manufacturers exist. So Charlotte and the South, Michigan, maybe Southern California, question mark.
Midwest.
That'd be my guess.
Let me offer one other point though. I think the state that develops, because maybe not Gannon Burr, but say like Anthony Barella or Calvin Heimberg, I think that there are probably half a dozen of those guys in every single state who probably are winning their state baseball championship and are going to go play D2 somewhere. Right.
Yeah.
If you had disc golf, if you pop that up, and whichever state pops up that disc golf state championships first for high school students, they are going to see an influx of those 6 players, or maybe 4 or 5 of them, who make that choice. And all at once, you're going to see for the next 2 or 3 years, like, holy crap, there's like 8 Texas guys who are excellent at disc golf that are all just graduated high school. It's because they have a state program, right? And that's the point that I think. Right. You're right. You can't manufacture a Gannon Burr, but there are a lot of top tier talent that's available.
But you could develop players into like very strong amateurs / borderline pros with more consistency if you had that infrastructure in place, for sure. All right. Next question, Josh.
Okay. This comes from Devilish Camel. How disappointed are we in Calvin's performance this year? He slid from first in tour points in 2023 to fourth in 2024. He still got 2 wins in May at OTB and DDO, but outside of that, I didn't feel like he was in contention often down the stretch of the tour. Is 2025 the year he gets out of the major shed?
I mean, how disappointed can you be in a guy who won $100,000 in prize money? Like, yeah, he wasn't as good this year as he was in 2023, and there's no question that the lack of performance at the majors is hanging over him. He finishes second at USDGC, but Gannon never really lost control of that tournament down the stretch. I don't know. Like, I think he is always he's going to be a, Phil Mickelson-y type until he wins a major. And I'm not like disappointed. I think this was more to my expectations, if anything. But I can understand that, Calvin fans are probably just like desperate for him to get a win.
Yeah.
But, the guy still won 6 figures in prize money. He's doing fine.
I think it also must be hard because like Calvin was regularly in contention and like almost could be considered like the guy last season, right? I mean, I guess he won Player of the Year.
He
right?
was the guy.
Yeah, he was the guy. And he is now supplanted by not only the guy, but the guy who probably will be the guy for the rest of Calvin's career.
Yeah.
That's a hard, and so it's not disappointment in Calvin's performance per se. It's disappointment that like Calvin had a window, and it feels like he missed it.
I mean, that's the thing, right? So like he hit 1052 rated at the end of 2023, and he's down to 1044 rated now.
That's a big drop.
And so like we're seeing an acceleration of play from Gannon and Ricky, and Calvin played worse. He didn't just play the same and get beat by Gannon. He played worse this season. Like, would you rather take AB's much more inconsistent season with 4 wins, or Calvin's? Calvin won more money than AB. Huh?
This year to this year?
This year to this year, yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely take AB's.
And AB made less money. He had many more bad finishes.
No one remembers your 7th and 10th place finishes.
Nobody cares,
more than
right?
They remember your
That's what I
30ths.
say.
Yeah. Sorry.
AB was the bigger star this year.
Absolutely.
All right. Next question. Pitch a rebrand for Prodigy and Lone Star. Basically, how does a disc golf company put out a dumpster fire? Torito, is it that bad? Maybe. All right, let's do it.
Yeah. So when I think
let's start with Lone Star. What are you doing?
Oh, jeez.
How you revive this?
Go back to the oil industry.
Close up shop.
Okay, Lone Star. What do you need to do? I think
I got a lot of thoughts on this one.
Why don't you take this one? I'll take Prodigy because I have thoughts about Prodigy. Okay, cool.
Fine.
Cool.
Let's go. All right. Well, let's remember back. Lone Star comes onto the scene. They're making Frisbees. What do? They sign 2 of the most hated people on tour to be their biggest stars, Nicola Castro and Emerson Keith. The fandom survey, first article about favorite, pros people root for, is out now. We're going to be talking a lot more about this as more articles roll out over the coming weeks, and we will also have some of the fandom survey folks on here on the pod to talk about it. But we're going to wait, for a little bit more information to drop first. So Nicola Castro, second least liked player on tour, only in front of Natalie Ryan, and Emerson Keith was 6th from the bottom. Okay, so already they were not on strong footing. Then they did that whole tour team thing where they were like, you get a sponsorship, and you get a sponsorship, and you get a sponsorship. And then they like bamboozled those people and didn't really like give them stuff. It wasn't real sponsorship. It was just like
there's a t-shirt and 2 discs.
But
but then you had to like fill half your bag with Lone Star.
Yeah, and you had to tweet and you had to do this. And then, they like have burned bridges with pros. They drop people mid-season. It's been like a complete mess, okay, from like a PR standpoint. So what do you need to do? All right. Number 1, you need to go back to basics and focus on making a mostly Texas-based sponsorship team and sign players people like. They don't even have to be the best players. Just people that are liked
Mm-hmm.
So, what? Like, I just went to their team page on their website, and it's devoid of any players. So, I mean, obviously they're hurting, and they need to like retrench on that front. So, stop trying to just get noticed by any means necessary, and like get back to doing the basics. Also, I feel like the prices are kind of ridiculous. I mean, their baseline putters are $18, $19. That's not competitive in the marketplace. Who's buying that? So, like, are you serious about being a disc golf company? I mean, I've heard decent stuff about the plastic. I don't think that it's like impossible that people are going to be willing to try it out, but you need to be more serious about like how you're selling these discs, how you're positioning your brand, and how you're treating the pros that you do have on your team. Because it's been one ugly stop after another. So that's my thoughts on Lone Star.
Okay. Prodigy, I think that they've started making some efforts in the direction, but they need to continue to advertise it. Like, Prodigy pretended when the Gannon... So Prodigy's dealing with two things. Number one, they're dealing with what has notoriously been the worst flashing in all of disc golf, to the point that like I own some Prodigy discs from that I cannot throw because the flashing is so bad. On the other side, they still are dealing with the windfall of issues that came from like the Gannon Burr and Chris Dickerson and then dropping two players mid-season, right? Like all sorts of kind of weird stuff surrounding player contracts. On the flashing side, like they're working on like moving this manufacturing. They're kind of identifying and talking about how they're turning the page on manufacturing. I think they need to come out and like accept it, because on social media, when people, after Gannon was talking about how frustrated he was and people were kind of like bagging on Prodigy on social media after Isaac won, people were coming on and like defending Prodigy, like, oh, we've got world champions, like how are we, why are we not rooting for them? And it's like, come out and accept the fact that you've had a quality control issue with flashing, and show us what's different now and why that's not going to be a problem anymore. And then highlight your top molds in a look, come try it out now. Come buy a PA3, an A2, an M1, whatever your core is. Buy the newly revamped Prodigy discs here in this set.
That's good Frisbee right there.
Yes, I've got my Dallas Stars one, and I've got NHL stuff was great. And if they could get more partnerships, that's the second thing I was going to say. If they could get more partnerships, NFL, NBA, because NHL is a great start, and as a hockey fan, I love it. It is the smallest of the big four sports in terms of revenue, participation in the United States. Like, so what's next? Can you get the NBA? Can you get MLB? Can you get NFL?
Yep.
Those will be bigger. So that was the second thing. So flashing, sell a box that highlights it and do it at a reasonable price and do it as X outs and just highlight this new and revamped disc and quality control. But the third thing, in terms of getting player support, listen, Isaac's gone. That guy, there's no chance that he stays, which means when you look, they're the only like touring pro. They don't have a touring pro who has won within the past 5 years once Isaac leaves. Now, I think they have a real gem in Ezra Robinson. And everyone knows on this pod that I'm an Ezra Robinson fan. And I think I am. He's a good player who almost finished the season above Ezra. I think it was Gabe. I owe Gabe a payout for a bet because I said Ezra would finish higher, and Isaac slipped in just at the end. But Ezra had an amazing season, and while he hasn't had a win yet, it's inevitable. And then when he did his interview at the end of the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships, I was like, why is this guy not on the mic every single day for Prodigy? Why are you not having him in advertisements and on podcasts and calling and trying to promote Ezra Robinson and getting more Ezra Robinson fans? He's incredibly likable. He is He is personable. He was friendly. I would love to interview him on this pod. Like, they need to start getting him out. Here's the other part. Chantel Budinsky is the only FPO player when I go to purchase discs or on their core team. She's the only FPO player that's listed on their core team. That's a problem. You need to get an FPO representative. And guess what? There's one up for contract right now in Silva Saarinen, who is jumped up the leaderboard.
I've heard, really quick, that possibly Silva's on a multi-year deal.
Oh, and we just didn't know about it.
It's frustrating to me. It's very hard to get information from MVP on this stuff.
Okay.
So I don't actually know if she's up for a deal.
They need to go get an FPO player who I can who can also be your FPO representation, because Chantel Budinsky is very popular, and I don't want to take anything away from her, but she also is.
I think it's a stretch to say she's very popular. I think the people who know Chantel, yes, she is well liked. That's I think the point I was making. Yeah. She is well liked, but she finished 40th on the Pro Tour standings. You've got to go get a top FPO representative. Listen,
and so those would be. I
have a crazy idea. Are you ready?
Okay.
This is my free marketing idea for Prodigy. Decide what you think your best disc is. I don't care what it is. In best disc, best plastic.
Okay.
Whether it's a PA3, whatever, I don't care.
PA3, A2, those would probably be my two guesses. Okay.
And you come out and you say, try the new Prodigy on us. Send in your information, and we will send you a free PA3 in the mail. We want you to try out the new Prodigy. And eat it. First 10,000 people or something, whatever it is. Yeah, it's going to cost you some money.
Mm-hmm.
But think about how that might change perception. People get it and they say, oh, wow, this is like the last time I threw a Prodigy disc, I really didn't like the plastic, and it was like kind of I've literally had chalky, crappy, sharp Prodigy disc in my bag, and I've been like, I do not want this disc in my bag. Now, I don't think that is representative of what Prodigy is today in 2024, or at least they have started to produce molds that are much more consistent and better, and they need to get people to know about that.
Yep.
And so they should just give it away. I know that sounds like a crazy idea, but it is the kind of bold move that they need to make if they want people to think about trying Prodigy again.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people write them off because of the drama, and frankly, the leadership of the company has not been great. So they can get back to being a popular disc company again, but they have to do some work on the PR side. So that's my thoughts there.
Love it.
One more quick question, then we're going to talk to Dion Arlyn. After that, we've got Mike's Mailbag Minute. Mike asked like 10 questions, and we're going to rapid fire them. Great questions too, Mike.
Great questions.
Last one here, though. Should companies start hiring personal trainers for their athletes, or should this be something that the players should seek out on their own? This one comes from Austin.
My company that I work for pays me $30 a month for a phone stipend. They could easily stick that in my paycheck, right? They could make my salary an extra $360 a year, and it wouldn't make a huge deal. By pulling it out and renaming it something else, one, there's tax implications, very small, but sure, tax implications. But number two, by putting that there, it makes me feel like that is a perk that I get for working for my company. You should hire a personal trainer who has access that any player has access to throughout the season. Yeah, it might cost you an extra, $70,000 or $80,000 or $100,000, whatever it does. But you could probably get away with paying players a little bit less if you are seen as the company that gives tons of perks to your players. If you were to go out and get some sort of, or help cover a percentage of all hotel or Airbnb expenses, or a gas card for X amount of gas dollars per month, and then reduce their salary by a similar margin, players would still come to you because they see that as a benefit that you are offering to play for that team, as opposed to just the money that at the end may not make them, the $5,000 that you're going to reduce player salary may not feel like the biggest difference in the world.
And this is an investment in the thing that makes you money.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, you pay for their gas. Okay. You pay for their flights. You pay for their entry fees, whatever. Investing in their health and longevity and injury prevention is good business. It's not just a good thing to do to make them feel good about work, being sponsored by your company. It is literally investing in them as athletes, which in theory is going to return to you when they play better. To me, it's easy because you can have one person be there as a resource for your entire group of athletes. To me, it's obvious.
The other thing is, like,
it's the same reason Google pays for your lunch.
Right.
They want you to stay in the office.
Yep. The other thing to think about is, like, when players go pay for these on their own, they're probably paying a higher per hour rate. Whereas if you can just get one single personal trainer, right?
And maybe they're not going to do it, but they would take advantage of it if you gave it to them, quote unquote, for free.
Exactly. Yep. I think this one is a no-brainer. I think perks like that are going to make you seem, and it's just such a stark contrast to other companies who are like, here's your contract, good luck, right?
That's why I think like health insurance stipend, similar stuff. Like, are you serious about wanting to keep your players like on tour and healthy and happy?
Vehicle insurance, right?
Absolutely.
Have the players pay a premium for vehicle insurance for like maintenance and road wear. Find a service company like a Jiffy Lube.
Smart companies are going to do these things and get a competitive advantage.
Yep.
In negotiations.
It's what other companies do right now. Smaller companies.
Close on the money, if you're close on the money, but company A offers these things and company B doesn't, and company A is probably only spending a few $1,000s out of their pocket to do these things. I mean, people might make the choice.
I think it would.
All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Dion Arlyn of the PDGA joins us to talk about the future of the PDGA. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport, and there could not be a better time to get yourself a Pound bag. Running now through Monday, December 2nd, you can get $100 off all Octothorpes and Octahalls, $50 off select double convertible Rufus and toolboxes, and 20% off fanny packs and beverage carriers. I have one of those beverage carriers. It's awesome. These are unmatchable deals. This is one of the best deals I've ever seen on a Pound bag, frankly. They do not go on sale all that often. So again, $50 off Rufus and toolboxes, $100 off Octothorpes and Octahalls, 20% off fanny packs and beverage carriers. Go to PoundDiscGolf.com, grab yourself a bag, get one as a gift for someone that you love that plays disc golf, and get yourself the best bag in the sport. Well, temperatures are dropping, days are shorter, but our day-to-day stresses remain the same. As we wind down 2024, you deserve to rest and recharge. Thankfully, one of our sponsors can help with that. Folks over at Sunset Lake have kicked off their Black Friday sale. Right now, you can save 30% site-wide when you head to sunsetlakecbd.com and use the code FRIDAY. They've got everything you need to chill out and enjoy your time this holiday season, from tinctures to gummies to topicals and even products for your pets. Sunset Lake is even throwing in some freebies this year. If your order's over $100, they'll give you a free 20-count jar of Relax Functional Mushroom Gummies. And if it's over $200, you'll get a 20-count jar of the same. I tell you what, they've got the new non-melatonin sleep gummies that have just a little bit of THC in them. Really, really nice. Super nice way to relax at the end of the day and get some great sleep. So head over to sunsetlakecbd.com and use the code FRIDAY to save 30%. See their site for terms and conditions. Joining Joining us now on the Upshot is Dion Arlyn. He is the Senior Director of Product at the PDGA, and as you can see by the hat, if you're watching this on YouTube, also one of the founders of Statmando. Dion, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate having me here.
So I want to start with this. Statmando starts what, 2022?
We launched the website at 2021 Worlds, which was in Utah, which I played in. And I was running around with my phone showing everybody who would give me a second, hey, check out this thing we just launched. And that was it.
But, it quickly became a staple for anybody who was seriously following the tour. I mean, certainly we've cited and used Statmando probably more than just about anybody on this podcast, trying to keep track of, all the things that are going on statistically. And so when you started Statmando, what was the vision? Like, for you to end up now in sort of like an upper management role at the PDGA after, kind of having like a fan-driven stat site is kind of a wild transition, and I want to get to that. But just like initially when you started Statmando, what was the idea there?
Sure. So me and my co-founders, Evan Kearns and Hans Anderson, excuse me, really just wanted to find a way to add value into the ecosystem. Obviously we all love the sport of disc golf. Evan has an incredible sports brain and mind for statistics. And, I think his dream job is to be like an analyst or provider of data products within the sporting sphere. So he's currently living his dream job, right, at the PDGA. And then Hans is an incredible developer. He built the whole stack that our platform is based off of. My goal was to, put my money where my mouth was. I've been working in the banking and technology and product development space. I'd always found some frustration with the way things were going about, and Statmando was an outlet for me to just exercise the excitement of building products and value and just see how it goes. So,
how did it go? Like, was Statmando making money by the end of 2023?
We had a few revenue sources. Our primary contract was with the Pro Tour so that we could supply stats and information to them and to media companies. That's what the platform really was kind of tuned to be able to do, was to analyze performance at the top level and then share those interesting insights. We were able to make calculations that historically weren't possible of being made just because we put in the time to organize the data and build the tooling around answering the basic questions that we had. So that seemed to fit really well with that delivery. We did some various other projects and products, but none of those things were huge money makers. And the owners we didn't pay ourselves. We took a very small amount of money to just kind of cover costs and just try to build the team and the community.
How did it come about that a lot of your team ended up basically getting snapped up by the PDGA?
Yeah, so we worked through finding out where the data was, how to leverage it, how to create insights. We early on sort of didn't ask for permission but begged for forgiveness from the PDGA, and having
scraping data.
Yeah, having spoken with Pete Christ and the senior director of technology at the PDGA, and having general awareness of who the people who work at the PDGA, and I think that general awareness of who I was. Once they saw what we were doing and we had the opportunity to talk about what our plans and goals were, we sort of found our lane and tried to stay within it and respect any wishes that they had. And as sort of the value prop of those things grew, there was an opportunity at the end of last year to sort of join forces, and they acquired the Statmando team. Me, Evan, and Hans purchased, the platform and what it was able to do, the brand, the Statmando brand. So that's now all under the PDGA umbrella. And then ultimately our mission continued, which was how can we find ways to add value into the disc golf ecosystem, now wearing this hat as somebody in the PDGA, landscape.
When they bought Statmando, like what was the conversation like? Were they saying like, we want to have more control over this statistical product, or was it more like we want you guys to do like tech development for us. Because, you know, I think when you were initially hired, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were not in the position that you're in now. So like, what has this year brought, and like, what was the initial conversation, and how have things changed over the course of this year, which has been an interesting year for disc golf, with the market cooling a little bit, and, you know, PDGA memberships down and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that the personnel, right, me, Hans, and Evan were really attractive. Clearly, we're very talented, motivated, passionate people in the sport. And I think, you know, the PDGA has a very like simple hiring philosophy, which is hire talented, motivated, passionate people in the sport, right? So that was a pretty good fit. And then, yeah, the skill sets that we brought to the table, obviously Hans is a talented developer. Evan initially worked within the software development team. He actually now works in the product team. So I think his skill set of looking for ways to create value and use the data is pretty incredible. Not just the ability to code it and make it what you read on the screen. So our skill sets, I think, were very attractive. The PDGA is always trying to find ways to improve and develop, and we were, kind of that different perspective to be able to add to the mix and grow the PDGA.
So, what exactly are you doing as senior director of product? Like, I guess I want to say, like, looking ahead, sure, what are the kinds of things that you hope to be bringing to the sort of offerings of the PDGA for members and fans?
Yeah, so I was the first product employee at the PDGA who had the title of product. And you recognize that I sort of started in one spot. I was the director of product. Now I'm the senior director of product. All that really means is, I lead a segment of the org. I lead product management, project management, program management, BI, and our marketing team. So Danny, our director of marketing, reports to me, but obviously he runs the marketing department there. All that means is my main directive is, in what ways is the PDGA providing value to its customers? And that can be a range, obviously, of our membership, our tournament directors. We're trying to do more for clubs. We're trying to do as much as we can for other players in the ecosystem. So what are we offering, right? And then kind of the basic product ethos is, who are we? What's our business? Who are our customers? What are their needs? And then how's it going, right? Is everyone getting what they need? Is it being successful? So my team and that ethos is just powering a lot of the conversation at the PDGA of trying to find ways to make everything better.
How would you assess how it's going? People bitch a lot about the PDGA. I'm sure you've noticed. You've probably done some complaining of your own in the past.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been in the sport for over 20 years now. I have my own personal journey, which was starting in high school, playing with the Sextons. They're the ones who got me into the sport.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I went to school with Colin Sexton, one of my best friends, and then his older brother Nate, obviously, was the most talented disc golfer in Oregon, let alone like our area. And his dad, Jay, was involved in the local club. Essentially, I learned the sport in the summer before my junior year. And by the end of that summer, I was a local club member. I was competing in tournaments, just totally fallen in love with the sport. And it felt to me like when I joined the local club and then started playing in sanctioned tournaments, it was like, hey, there's this secret thing called the PDGA, and it's really cool, right? And if you like disc golf, you need to join the PDGA. I was like, member number 24781. So one of the first 25,000 people to ever join the PDGA, all of 21 years ago. Now we are closing in on 300,000 as the membership number. And my journey in that time is sort of like the PDGA as a governing body, I think catches a lot of flack because it's so visible within the sport, but it is a major component of the backbone and infrastructure of the disc golf ecosystem. And I think you can't avoid being a target when you're that like prevalent in the ecosystem.
Sure.
So there are things I like, things I don't like, but I was shocked when I started working at the PDGA almost a year ago. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary, to learn just how small the actual organization was until just a few years ago. Something like less than 15 people worked at the PDGA prior to the pandemic. So to think about the amount of impact and reach that this organization has over the history of the sport, with just a few dedicated people working very hard, right, to make things happen, it's pretty incredible. So obviously there are areas that I thought the PDGA could do better on, the use of its data that it had, but I wasn't trying to supplant or poke holes or displace the PDGA. I just wanted to see the value get added to the ecosystem, and I think that translates well into coming to work for the PDGA. The mission is like pretty universally shared. We want to make the sport better. We want to make sure the people who participate in organized sanctioned disc golf are having a great experience, and that's what we're doing.
It feels like the most obvious change to PDGA this year has been the move from UDisc over to the PDGA for kind of like Pro Tour statistics and scorekeeping, with the development of the PDGA score and stats kind of department and the app. Now that's rolled out to members as well, not just for the Pro Tour. And certainly when there are volunteers to take these stats, it's pretty great. We get even more detail than we did with UDisc in many cases. Yet we have also had many tournaments, most tournaments even, where we do not have complete statistics, which has got to piss you off. I mean, it pisses me off, and I'm not somebody who's like obsessed with the stats like you guys are. So this to me feels like, I don't know whose fault it is. Like, do you think the PDGA owns that? Does the Pro Tour own that? Do you, as a director of product, feel frustrated by the fact that there are cards that are going out, even sometimes top cards, that don't have stats? To me, this has been like a little bit of a rocky transition.
I think the transition catches a lot of attention. I think overall it was incredibly successful. The tech team at the PDGA built a platform that had always wanted to come into existence and be used for tournaments across the board. This was a great opportunity to build something that could be used and visible at the highest level right away, right, and meet the needs for the Pro Tour. And I would love to see more people capture stats and input that piece into their as they're playing the rounds and playing their competition. It's not a requirement, right? It's something that we get to do that is a value add in my mind. I would love to continue to refine the product and make it easy and accessible so that people don't have a reason not to do it. But you used some words like fault and pissed. No, like I want to see people enjoy the disc golf experience. I want to see people use the products that we make available to them. Certainly the data is exciting, all right? And I want to harvest that data for insights. I want to know what the skill ranges of various divisions are on various course compositions so that we can share that information back with tournament directors and say, hey, this hole didn't really pan out the way you may have intended. Look at this data set and see if you can refine maybe this tee position or this basket position for these divisions. There's just not the scoring separation that you might want for those skill sets. So there's tons of application to be had and that we're wanting to develop that I think is going to benefit everybody. What happens at the highest tier in the Pro Tour, that's just the most visible incarnation of that. So
Sure. What are some things on the roadmap for what you're hoping to do? And perhaps that even includes like the Statmando website. Is that going to be merged over into the PDGA? Is it going to continue to exist as it is today? I'm really curious about like what you're hoping to accomplish over the next couple of years.
Yeah. So the Statmando website is kind of a free resource for research and analysis. Some of the things we were looking to develop were some more in-depth modules for player performance analysis. So if you're inputting your scores and your throwing mechanisms and your stats that way, to be able to feed that back to the member and say, hey, when you're throwing backhand or forehand, these are your success rates, these are your birdie rates, these are your failures. So that's sort of the general theme, I think, of like player-facing products within the Statmando platform. That's maybe a little further down the line, sort of the core product set at the PDGA is the competitive disc golf experience. Tournament directors are an incredibly important piece of our ecosystem. I want to make sure that the tooling and experience of TDs is top notch, that everything you might need to execute an event end to end is in one place for you. So just streamlining the tournament director experience is going to be a big initiative. And then generally just continuing to refine and release features within PDGA Live and the applications that we have. Want live scoring and throw-by-throw tracking to be available for all players, and that is certainly on the plan for next year.
And so, what is the status on that now? I was under the impression that it was available to people who are playing at tournaments. Yeah,
so we released the throw tracking feature to A tiers and B tiers. Sort of soft launch in the last few weeks and months. C tiers is the bulk of competition at the PDGA and obviously leagues, so those would be next. And we're just sort of slowly moving those things forward. We don't want to release a product where a glitch might surface and 8,000 people were using it at one time across the tournament landscape. So we want to just make sure that everything is solid and it's a good experience.
There are, when you look around sports, we see data being used in all kinds of ways, fantasy and, of course, betting, and I don't even know, like just the advanced analytics that are available if you're serious about wanting to dig deeper on, like, datagolf.com is an amazing resource for those who follow pro golf. Do you have visions for any of this stuff, from a PDGA standpoint? Like, are you thinking about sports betting? I mean, I know that's more of like a pro tour kind of conversation, and I don't know how much you feel like you're involved in sort of pro tour thinking versus general population of PDGA membership thinking. But, how are ways that you're hoping the PDGA can utilize this data in more ways?
Yeah. So, having a robust data engine is incredibly important because the way you can use it is fairly unlimited. Like, if you have a good engine, you can put it to use in a lot of different reasons and purposes. Again, probably the top use cases in my mind are, what are the insights that we're going to glean that are going to apply to everyone's disc golf experience and make it a better thing? So, I made reference to what type of insights I might feed back to tournament directors, what kind of feedback it might, give back to players as they're competing. The products that you build on top of it needs to make sense with the company that you are. The PDGA is the governing body of the sport. Its customer base is the people who create and play and organize sanctioned competition. So, it's not on my roadmap to build a sports betting platform because I don't know if that would be appropriate for the PDGA.
Of course.
If other entities in the world are trying to build those types of products, and the PDGA can be a platform where the use of that data is, helpful in those endeavors and it makes sense, I don't know, I'd be open to those ideas, but I need to make sure that I'm taking care of my customers.
Yeah, gotcha. So, I know you all just hired somebody into your department, or I don't know if you actually got the hiring done. I saw a LinkedIn post that you were looking to hire somebody. How big is your team, and what are they working on right now? I'm sort of curious in specifics.
Yeah. So the organizational structure of the PDGA, we're going to really thrill the audience.
Well, I mean,
today on this one,
I don't think you need to go into the whole depth of everything, but
yeah, I
used to be able to find all that information on the PDGA, and they've changed the website structure so you can only see director level people now. So,
you're right. I think that was. I think there were just concerns generally of showing general staff in website. I don't think that's a very common practice. So I think just highlighting the leadership makes sense there. But so I have about a handful of staff. I have about the marketing team, which is about 4 folks, and the rest of the product org is another 4 folks. And it's a mix of business intelligence, product management, program management. So just ultimately, what are we making? Who is it for? How does it need to work? And then trying to set that up for the tech team, which is what that position was being posted for, a project manager within the tech team to help plan and execute that work, and just try to set things up for the tech group to be able to build the software and the features needed. So that's where we sort of sit within the flow of being able to identify what the needs are, put some shape to it, and tee it up for implementation.
Cool. All right. Well, how has it been for you personally, sort of transitioning into working for the PDGA?
Yeah, this is a dream job. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to work in disc golf in full time. I had been working in the banking technology space for a little over a decade. I was a former touring professional in 2011, and basically spent 13 years trying to get back into disc golf being my livelihood. I think it's kind of fun and ironic that the way that I'm having impact in the sport is through all the boring stuff I had to go learn, getting a job to start a family and provide for my wife and children, learning technology and product development and all those things. But be able to take that knowledge, pair it with my passion. That's where Statmando came from, and that became the bridge to get me into disc golf full time. So incredibly grateful.
Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on, and I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving and a nice holiday season.
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate you.
Dion Arlyn from the PDGA with us here on the Upshot. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Upshot. Thanks again to Dion for coming on. Josh, sorry you couldn't be there to join us.
Yeah, that dang job thing always gets in the way. So
we all get a few days off here coming up. Thank goodness.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. We're going to close out today with Mike's Mailbag Minute. Mike in the Discord dropped so many good questions that we decided we're going to hit them all in a more rapid fire format. So let's do it. You ask the first one, I'll ask the next one, and we'll go from there.
Deal. If someday Europe... Actually, no, we're going to switch, Charlie, because you need to answer the second question. So you go first. You go first.
You got it. If someday Europe became the largest market for the Pro Tour, would the Upshot have a problem with the majority of the tour taking place there?
As long as the money is the same, no. That's the biggest holdback, is that many times we've seen even like European Pro Tour events have not had the same level of purse. But if the talent and money were, like, let's say it was completely flipped and there was more talent at the top level and more money out of Europe, I would have zero problem if 75% of the tour took place in Europe.
The only problem I would have is that it would be significantly harder to follow live coverage. I would watch less live FPO.
Sure.
Sure.
It would be harder. It'd be harder for us.
Yeah.
But
from other than that, I don't have a problem at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the European courses on average are better than the U.S. courses.
Agreed.
The crowds are better. The spectacle is better. Like, I don't know. Like, they're kicking the U.S.'s ass in many ways. Yep. But the fans are still here.
And the money. So if like I said, I mean, if that's the thing, is like, if DGA subscriptions, if Pro Tour money, if player level and ratings all could be sustained at their current level or exceeded by Europe, I'd have no problem with 75% of the tour took place there.
Totally.
We'd make it work.
Players would hate it a lot more than we would.
Yeah. But I mean, you got to imagine the European players hate it just as much as American players would.
It's fair. I would say we've achieved a nice balance. Like, Europe's come a long way in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it has.
From a combination of efforts on that end and the efforts on the Pro Tour side to, like, bring it into the fold.
Agreed.
Let's go. It's rapid fire, Josh. I'm waiting on you.
Sorry, I was still stuck. Like, you're doing the next one, then I looked at the question. You're right. When will the Upshot start doing merch? See, Charlie, you should be really happy I didn't take this one, because I would have made promises that I couldn't deliver on.
2025. I'm committing.
Okay. I would wear an Upshot hat for every episode if we had one. So,
if you have ideas on what kind of merch you would like to see, or how it should look, hit us up. Because I will admit, the logo for the pod that like pops up in your podcast app, I love it, but it's not really a merchy kind of logo. So I got to think about like how we want to present Upshot. The Upshot old school pin is actually kind of low key nice.
That's one I have on my bag. I love it.
Yeah. And you can check out our In the Bags, by the way. We did a video version of In the Bags for subscribers last week. It's available now on ultiworld.com. So get yourself a subscription, less than $4 a month, and enjoy our In the Bags. And you can check out the pin. Maybe we'll bring the pins back.
Got to bring the pins back. I love my pin.
That's the only Upshot merch that exists at this time. So I promise there will be more in 2025.
I'll also say for everybody at home, I went and bought that pin before I was even on the show. This was not like a perk I got because I joined the show. No, I went and bought that myself.
That's long ago. I mean, the pins are long gone.
Long gone. Yeah. That pin's real old now.
How long will it be acceptable to test, choose, and finally implement the new targets across the entire tour before it's becoming too long?
Well, the thing is like I don't think they're going to pick one basket. They're going to allow a lot of I think they're going to allow a lot more baskets than we're going to be happy with. So that's what I think is going to be the real issue, is that all these companies are going to submit the baskets, and I think the Pro Tour is going to let more of them through than we're going to wish they would. So I think it's actually going to be a quicker time frame than you think. I think by 2026 they have the new standards completely rolled out and implemented. I just think you're not going to be happy with it's not going to feel significant enough, and we're going to keep complaining about spit outs. So that's my prediction.
I feel like the Pro Tour like has these grand visions of how they're going to do stuff, and then it ends up dragging out forever. And like this feels like that again. Like what was that whole like thing that they did at the end of the season? That wasn't the actual process. That was just like concepts of a process. I don't really understand. Like, let's get it done. And like I don't even we got to get rid of the bad baskets. I don't really care how you do that.
You've got to.
But come on now. I don't know. Like the Pro Tour has they'll say they're going to do something, and then like remember they said they're going to change the tour a bunch, and then it's taken them like 5 years to make changes to the tour in a meaningful way. On the state side, anyway.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's just like I feel like there's a little bit of overpromise, underdeliver that goes on at the Pro Tour, maybe a lot, and hopefully they can get this right. Because it needs to happen before the start of the season.
It does. But I'm not confident. You both said you expect Macbeth to bounce back, so I'm sure many are wondering, what odds are either of you willing to bet real money he wins an Elite Plus? I'm going to include playoff or major.
So I can't just win a regular Elite?
That's what it looks like.
Well,
what do you think? It says plus. Do you just want to say
the
Elite
plus
series?
is in parentheses? Let's just say he wins a tour event.
Wins a tour
Full stop,
event.
right? Like a Pro Tour.
Does that include like Copenhagen?
I think yes.
Okay, so any tour event.
Any full Pro Tour event, not silver, whatever.
Right, not silver, not match
whatever
play,
they call silvers this year.
All-star. Yeah. I feel
regular tournament, yes, you can win a European one.
Okay.
Odds.
To bet real money.
To put actual cash dollars behind this. I want like plus 200, I think, to bet on Macbeth.
Is that all you want?
Yeah. You wouldn't take the bet at plus 200?
No.
Well, let's make a bet then.
Okay.
I get plus 200.
Okay.
Macbeth wins. You minus 200. So I bet you name the price. I don't care really.
We'll just do $10.
$10.
Okay.
I bet $10. If he wins in a tournament, you pay me 20.
Yep. Okay.
That's it.
There's our line.
What number would you want to bet on Macbeth?
Plus 500.
Wow. All right. I want plus 400 now.
No. You already made the bet at 200. Nice try, though.
Plus 500, really? Wow.
Yeah,
Josh, he literally won a bunch of tournaments in 2023.
Well, I know he won a bunch of tournaments in 2023. It felt
you think
different.
He's done
and I
forever?
No, I don't think he's done forever. He's coming off surgery. Here's the thing, though. If I'm looking at just like sheer odds of anything, right? How many players are truly like under par or like below even odds to win a tournament? Gannon, Ricky,
Calvin,
AB,
Anthony Barella. Yeah.
That it?
Isaac Robinson's going to be close.
I bet he's probably even or just over.
Money.
And like, if you said, okay, you can have Isaac Robinson or Paul Macbeth, which one are you going to hit? I'm smashing Isaac Robinson in that scenario.
I'd probably take Isaac, but not massively.
I take Isaac by a little, but
I
probably
think
more
Macbeth
than you do.
is going to be pretty motivated to get back into the winning circle next year.
I mean, I hear you, and his Instagram posts are probably going to be very inspiring, but I just, I don't have, like, I get he's motivated. I get he was coming off the surgery, but I don't have any reason to think that next year's going to be like drastically different.
Mike did specify U.S. soil.
Oh,
I think if you, we made our bet. If you're telling me U.S. soil only, I do think the odds are closer to plus 350, plus 400.
Yeah.
For me.
Like, if he's going to win, it's going to be like, it's going to be PCS or it's going to be,
Maybe.
Right, Copenhagen. Like, that's where I would think he does it.
Maybe.
We'll see.
What's the odds he wins 2 events?
Oh.
You want to go
good.
plus 1,000? Give me odds.
I don't know if I give you even plus 1,000.
Plus 500 for 1. But you won't give me plus 1,000 for 2.
Well,
Parlay,
first off,
Josh.
that's a lot of money. You want to but I just, how many players won 2 events this season?
Not many.
Calvin, I think we listed it, right? Gannon, Calvin, Ricky, AB.
Yeah, Isaac didn't, right? He only won the Worlds.
Only won the Worlds.
Yeah, dang.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There you go.
Maybe
Mike.
nobody wins anything. Maybe Gannon wins literally every. What's the odds Gannon wins literally every tournament?
That's pretty high odds.
Yeah, I would be. Would you sprinkle at plus 5,000?
I might sprinkle it at plus 5. I mean, what the heck? I'd throw. That's like one of those. I would like.
There's no way.
Gannon wins all events, and like say like Missy wins Worlds.
Let's go with a more plausible scenario. What's Gannon major sweep odds?
That honestly, plus 5,000 might not be too far off.
That seems a little too high. I would take that bet right now.
Would you?
If you want to give it to me.
No, I'm not giving you. I'm not a bookie, Charlie. I'm not giving you these outrageous legs.
I bet 10. You pay me 500 if he sweeps.
I'm not bringing in a bunch of cash from suckers who are also betting on like Nico LaCastro to win the majors.
I think there's like a 5 to 10% chance he wins them all.
I think that's fair because he won
and that
Europe.
Would put him at like
so he already won European Open, which is Worlds
plus 1,500 or something like that.
USDGC. I mean,
I already won. He didn't win Champions Cup yet, right?
He has not won Champions Cup or Worlds.
But you gotta like his chances to win Worlds next year.
Yes,
and he can certainly win the European nonsense
without a doubt
tournament.
I don't know why he couldn't win OTB.
Right.
Yeah. Next year might be his best chance, honestly. Not saying that like other chances won't be good, but like I think it sets up well for him next year.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Okay. Next question. In addition to selling discs from all these boxes, this is actually sort of a question for me, but I'll let Josh answer it. Perhaps there's an Upshot contest to win one, or some other stuff, or some merch. Whether it be skill-based like picks or luck-based raffle or anything else. Could be fun off-season stuff. What do you want to do, Josh? I'm ready. I'm ready to give away some stuff.
All right. We have been talking about, for Mailbag, we've kind of done like, and we've awarded month subscriptions for the question of the episode or question of the month or whatever we call it. And I think we could do a mystery box for the best mailbag coming up in for like our next mailbag segment. Because the thing is like, aren't there limitations about like raffle rules and like doing it for if like They can't just be subscriber only, right?
No, we can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that, but then you have to have like a self-addressed stamped envelope option or something like that. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm totally open to. You got it?
Yep, I've got it. Send in an email right now. Your top gaffes for our gaffes weird things bracket. You send it in. Send in an email. Send in what seed in the 16 seed bracket you think it should be.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to then build our bracket. The winning seed, or the winning
Gaff.
the winning gaff, who also has the correct or closest seed, is going to win an Upshot mystery box.
Well, so here's the problem with that. I like the idea, but my problem is that people are going to come up with great gaffes.
Yeah.
And they're going to give them 1 seeds, probably. I mean,
Sure.
generally the 1 or a very high seed is going to win. So I feel like we're encouraging too much, only giving us the best stuff.
So how do we fix this then?
So here's what I would say. Send in your gaffes.
Yep.
If we pick any of your gaffes to go into the bracket, you are entered to win.
Okay. Let's give them a second option. Gaffes and top storylines.
Okay.
So you can get up to 2 entries with gaffes and storylines brackets. And so send in your email. Here's the thing. In the subject line, you need to put raffle entry and then put your things. That way we can sort our email and just pull the raffle entries.
I like
that. If you do not put raffle entry in your subject line, you do not get entered for the contest.
Subject line, raffle entry, and then, whatever, dash gaffes.
Yeah, if you want to add a dash, that's fine. You just want to leave a raffle entry and then put your storyline gaffes, put it below.
The email to send to is upshot@ultiworld.com. Upshot@ultiworld.com. We're looking for gaffes, weird stuff, top storylines.
Yep.
You can put them all in one email. We'll give you 2 entries if you get some from both. That's all you got to do.
Can they only list one thing, or can they make a big list?
No. Go crazy.
Go crazy.
Give yourself the best chances to win.
Okay. All right. I love when people,
and yes, we will send you if you are selected at random from this process. We will send you a mystery box compilation.
There we go.
Love it. Okay. You got the next one, I think.
Mike asked for player tier predictions for 2025. S tier, A tier, B tier. How do we want to limit this? Let's just name
S tier players. Here we go. MPO. Gannon Burr.
Yep. That it? I'm fine with it. I'll give you your A tier players then. A tier players. Anthony Barella, Calvin Heimberg, Ricky Wysocki, Isaac Robinson.
What about Ezra Robinson?
Listen, man, I really wanted to. I wanted to so bad. Oh, man.
What about Nicholas Antela? Third in the Pro Tour standings, Josh.
I hear you. All right. I think Nicholas, it would be disrespectful not to include Nicholas in the A tier. I can't give it to Ezra. I want to. I think... So let's define it then. What do you think A tier? Does that mean multi-time winner? Multi-winners?
I don't know. I'm not thinking that hard. This is Mailbag Minute, not the Mailbag Deep.
Sorry.
Yeah, fine. So B tiers, Ezra Robinson, Kyle Klein, Joey Buckets, James Proctor, Simon?
Sure. I mean, if you put money on Macbeth, you better put Macbeth. Basically, if you're going to win a Pro Tour event and do sort of well during the season, I think you deserve B tier.
Andrew Presnell, then?
Where did he 17th?
C tier.
C tier. You got to finish like top 15, I would say, to make B tier.
Okay. FPO. S tier. Obviously, Kristen. Who else? Anybody else deserve it? Evelina?
I'm saying Holland.
Holland, S tier.
I think Holland next year.
Look ahead. You're saying Holland, huh?
Yeah. And this is looking forward.
I'm saying Evelina too.
Okay, I think that's fair.
A tier, Own, Missy.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Probably.
Silva? Probably still B tier.
No, Silva's B tier. Ella's B tier.
Cat
Merch is B tier. Here's a question, Charlie. Are you putting Paige Pierce in B tier? Top 10 in Pro Tour standings and a win?
Yes.
Okay.
Old guard bounce back year.
Old guard bounce back.
Silva Sarin in B tier. Haley King.
Nope. Leaving her off.
C tier?
If that, I don't know if she deserves that nod this year.
Funny.
12th.
Unintentionally funny. Like Instagram stories, pros doing different stuff. It's like Silva at the gym. Kristen at the gym. Haley playing Fortnite. I'm like, come on, man. All right. Next question. Okay. Which of the Crush Boys will win first? The next.
Yeah.
Eagle or Simon? Will either of them win in 2025?
This does not specify 2025, mind you. I'm gonna say Eagle. We left Eagle. Do you think Eagle even makes B tier next year?
Yeah.
Okay, I think so.
I can't
too.
put him in A tier because there's too much uncertainty, but I could definitely put him in B tier.
I think so too. I think Eagle wins first.
Me too.
Okay. It's tough because Simon has been winning, but I just
a lot more than Eagle.
A lot more, but I think Eagle's going to come back. I think so. I hope so.
I'm telling you, bounce back year.
Bounce back year.
I'm with you. I think it's Eagle, and I think he wins next year.
Okay. All right. This was one for me, but
okay, I'll ask it for you. Josh,
okay.
Are you willing to make a career-length bet on Calvin never winning a major? And what odds would you take, or have you taken?
I don't know if I've taken a bet yet. It wouldn't shock me. I can't keep track of all the bets that I throw out. So people could probably email me and be like, "Josh, you owe me for this bet." And
Josh only makes hater bets.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, you bet against Ricky winning a major. You just bet against Paul winning a tournament.
Listen, I'm playing the odds, man. I'm playing the odds. Make a career length bet. He's got so long left. Probably not. I think that there's a good chance that one of these weekends, it could just break his way, where he wins from third card and it's clumped enough that he was able to have a spectacular final round and could come back and win it. So if I did take the bet, it'd be I'd bet you I would take an even bet with the disc. If you want any disc that I own versus any disc that you own, I'd put that bet up against Calvin, but I probably wouldn't put real significant money up against it.
So you're not willing to make the bet?
I don't think so.
So you think he's going to win?
I think he's got a path out of the shed. Listen, I think it's an ugly path. And I think that he may continue to have an honorary shed spot because it might take him a while, but I just something could break his way and that's hard. There's a lot of years left. Ricky's has a fixed timeline. And so I feel better about that one, but, yeah, I would take even odds on a disc bet if anyone wanted to make it. I'd go for it.
All right. Well, email in if you want to take the bet with Josh.
Next question.
Yeah.
Did you want to do the next line, Charlie?
You read it and then I'll hit it.
All right. Next question. Shameless promotion of my response to the basketball comps episode I emailed. I don't remember this email. Oh, you've got it? Okay.
Yeah. He was mad because We did our NBA player comps for our subscribers. And he feels that it is important that LeBron James, who has been one of the most controversial number ones to ever play basketball in his words, people saying NBA fans outwardly hate on the guy. They have daily for 20 plus years. Pundits have made entire careers of speaking poorly about LeBron. People don't call Jordan nicknames like Le Flop or Le Choke. Le Choke is a pretty good one. He's far from loved or universally respected. Part of that is LeBron is a physical, athletic specimen. People have long said he hasn't had to work anywhere as hard as others, that he complains way too much, that he's a whiner, that he's weak mentally, and they used to call him immature when he was young. Blah, 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 blah. And his point is Gannon Burr is an early 20s LeBron. With haters everywhere and tons of accolades already accomplished in his youth, a player with the willpower, intelligence, and competitive edge poised to dominate for a literal decade plus.
Listen,
You buy it?
I love the comp. I think the comp is great. And we could reframe the debate around like Macbeth is Jordan and Gannon is LeBron. And like that's I could totally see that being our new comp in a decade. But here's the problem. Like I agree, you could call him a young 20s LeBron, but I think there has to be a certain element of longevity that has to be proven before he earns the LeBron title. Gannon's playing great, but we've seen NBA players before who are spectacular but only play well for 5 years, and we just don't know if that's the case for Gannon. I don't think that's the case. I surely wouldn't put a bet on it being the case, but the longevity of LeBron is one of the points that will stand as like one of the arguments that people will make. The fact that he is 40 and dropping triple doubles is the reason that LeBron still like evokes so much respect in the number one debate, at least one of those reasons. And until Gannon does the same thing, I have a hard time assigning that LeBron title to him. Macbeth did have like a really long career and is still competitive, and so I think that's why Macbeth gets the comp right now. I love the comp. I'm not quite ready to give that crown to Gannon quite yet, though.
I will only add that I feel more now than I did even a couple months ago that the comp could be accurate.
That's also true. Because that was before he won that crazy stretch down the end, too.
Right.
Yeah.
And then almost threw 800 feet.
Yeah, that too.
All right, next one, Josh.
Okay.
Does the tour take known weather patterns into enough consideration when designing their tour stops?
I mean, they've canceled a major because of a hurricane, so like they probably could look at it a little bit more, but otherwise I think they do a pretty good job. I think that's why the tour is set up the way that it is to get to the correct areas in the correct time of year. So I think they do a pretty good job.
Except Texas. I mean, I don't know. Like, when are you going to go to Texas? It's just so brown when they go there.
When are you going to go?
But it's not. It's also not 110 degrees. So I don't know.
Right.
Can't win them all.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. You really can't win them all. I think the tour does a pretty good job. Though with the way hurricanes are, like, we need to maybe rethink our East Coast finisher, because we could have almost had another major in it. Like that, they're a little bit different trajectory for the hurricane, and we're not having USDGC this year. So
yeah, that is true.
Right? Like that may be something we need to look at again. All right, next. KJ USA returns to form and finishes over under 25.5, 25 and a half, fifth place. So that's the line in DGPT points in the 2025 season.
Where did he finish this year, Josh? 44th? Is that what you said?
Yeah, something around there. I can pull it up real fast.
25th, we're saying?
That assumes making the Pro
Give me
Tour
the over. Well,
as in,
how am I saying this? Give me the under.
He'll
smaller than 25, as in he will do better than that.
I wanted that side as well, actually.
I'm counting on bounce back year.
Yeah.
It's bounce back year.
The other thing is, like, Kevin has the physical tools. He has a style of game that, like, really allowed him to succeed. It was I think this new kind of change to Innova has really reinvigorated him, and I'm hoping that this offseason gives him the opportunity to take advantage of it. I like it as well. I think he finishes better in the 25th.
There we go. We're on the same side on this one.
Okay.
Is there any worry, this is the last one, we'll have enough disc golf to watch in 2025, given the consolidated schedule? You think there's not going to be enough now?
I think there's plenty.
I think we are not the correct people to ask.
Yeah. Like
if you're a junkie, you might be annoyed that you have to miss a bunch of weekends. For those of us who do a twice a week podcast, it is a beautiful thing not to have tournaments every single weekend.
There was a stretch of like 7 weeks. Like, think about all the things that we don't do, right? The interviews we don't have, because we're just trying to do tournament prep. Like, space to breathe in the schedule gives opportunity for disc golf to flourish in other ways than just pro scene. And as the podcast, we love the opportunity to like bring on an interview that isn't directly related to next week's tournament. And we do it sometimes, but it's harder when everyone's in full grind mode all the time for tournaments. I think consolidated schedule is going to be great, and go watch the live coverage, and then go watch some post pro too. Like there's plenty of opportunities, I think, for disc golf. Also, you can go check out our Inside the Circle. We did top fives again, and I gave you 5 tournaments that you should go watch in the off season on post produce. So like there's tons of old stuff as well. If you're a junkie and you're disappointed, my condolences go to you.
I think it's nice to have some breathing room. I think it's better for players. I think it's going to improve the competition because players aren't going to be so burned out. And I'd rather have it be more of an event than to just like have to constantly watch tournaments. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like I barely watched much NBA this season, even though the Knicks are the best they've been in a long time. And NFL, man, 1 game a week. It's just something about it.
Well, it's also like
when there's back-to-back tournaments, that means that there's 6 days of action over the course of like a 9-day period. It's too much.
Well, and the other thing is like it means some of those tournaments are relegated in importance, right? The NFL every week has very impactful games. That's my biggest complaint with like every other of the top 3. Well, the other top 3 of the big 4 in the US is that individual games just don't matter that much in the NHL and MLB and NBA until you're getting close to the end of the season. So you can bookmark your calendar like, okay, when are the Knicks going to play the Celtics? And you'll make sure to catch those games because that's telling for the playoffs. But, individual games are just so hard to like create meaning out of every time. It's difficult. And I think too many tournaments does the same thing. It's hard to get excited about Texas State's when it's the 4th Texas tournament we've had there.
They've thinned appropriately.
They have. I think so too.
All right. That is going to do it for this week's show. Before we go, Josh, we got to do it as a tradition. What's something that you're thankful for in 2024? You're lucky you get to go first because we're going to say the same thing.
I'd say it's got to be my family, right? And Ollie and having a new kiddo and the wonderful family I have around me. It's being a dad is something that's crazy, and I thought I was prepared, and I was in no way prepared, and I really do love it. So, you didn't want disc golf specific, right?
No.
Okay, all right. That's my answer right now.
Yeah, I think having a healthy, happy child, and he was literally born on Thanksgiving last year, so there's like a little extra meaning for it for me. I think all parents will understand that sentiment. So yeah, just happy to have everybody in the house healthy and happy right now. So
yeah,
hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We'll be back with you next week right here on The Upshot.